when you created the band, how did you manage to get the members together?
And I don't know what else. Kind of went from like, hey, kind of playing some smaller shows into now we're kind of getting thrown into the bin of like major players, like major bands.
Some up-and-coming artists may want to move to LA for a better career, and since you've been there yourself, got any advice for any musicians looking to go to such major city?
I'll say first of all, it's really damn hard to be an artist without consistent income coming in, because when you're put into a situation where you're kind of in survival mode, you can't really be free-flowing to let art pour out of you the right way. You got me like on tangents, I guess. You're stirring me up emotionally. I love it.
No, this is good. I like that you're telling this as a musician, because I think a lot of music artists who's watching this will definitely learn from another artist such as yourself. You got into Bitcoin. What pushed you into holding onto this asset?
I think it's personally like one of the great assets to have, but success doesn't look like a straight line. It just goes up and then it goes way down. You're like, what's going on? And then it goes up and then it goes a little more up than it did last time. And if you look at it over a long period of time, you're like, well, I started here and ended here.
Break, how are you doing?
Good, man.
Happy New Year. Yeah, I'm all good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Awesome.
Better be recording this time, man.
Let me see. Oh no, I'm not. Yeah, I am.
Funny.
Yeah, so for all those who don't know, we were actually doing an interview last month in December, and all throughout the interview, I wasn't recording. And so now I'm making sure everything is working fine and everything's looking good so far.
Yeah, that was a funny thing. I like it. Nice mic you have there. What is that?
Oh, it's the Blue Yeti mic. I've had it for since 2017.
I dig it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice mic.
Which do you have any mic that you like that you're using right now for your music?
I've just kind of been getting with the SM7B. It's kind of been just like a classic traditional one to kind of go for. I like it. It's a fairly cheaper mic, but great quality, and it just kind of works well for a lot of different things. I mean, I don't really use mics to record guitar amps really at this point. I kind of just go old, just direct. But yeah, for vocals, works good.
Yeah, I've yet to look into that because I checked other mics, and then I thought, is it worth getting this really expensive mic? Does it make your voice sound even better than the current one I have? But I think this one is fine.
That's a good debate. I mean, for real. I mean, I've seen them do side-by-side tests, and I've been tricked every time. Where I've seen a really cheap mic versus a really, really expensive one, and I cannot tell the difference. And I'm around music all day long. So there is some sort of there's a price point, I think, but then once you're past that price point, it's kind of hard to, I think, discern unless you have a mic for a specific, a very specific vibe that you're going for. That may be, a certain type of mic, but...
Yeah. Well, anyways, let's get straight to the questions. I've already laid out some ones here. So, what got you into creating your music, to this career? What made you interested in making music?
I mean, I think it started, when I was very young. Like I said, kind of in the other interview that's archived somewhere in the metaverse. But I think that ultimately what's kept me making music and really was the core of it was self-expression. I think that's probably what gravitates most people towards art, I would believe. I mean, maybe it's been there's some superficial aspects of, feeling, good at music, I guess, at guitar and wanting to be the best that I could, and there's always that. But I think that ultimately, if I would kind of peel back all the onion layers, it's about connecting. Like I said last time, it's about fostering those deeper connections and a sense of self-expression, of putting your own, life's journey into something that people can experience and hopefully resonate and relate with,
Yeah, totally. It's great that you're making these songs because, as I mentioned earlier from the previous interview, there's certain musicians that keep their songs because I'm a creator myself, I make GMVs, gaming music videos, and it's great to have you in the field because you allow content creators like us to monetize your songs. And I think that's a huge benefit for a lot of people, because when I started out, we didn't have that. We didn't have songs that we can monetize, and you appeared, content creators like you appeared, and it's great to have you here. So
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say that. I mean, I love that. I mean, you can use as many Empty Trail songs as you want. You monetize it. I love it.
yeah, I mean, what made you decide to choose that Empty Trail title for your band?
It is, I guess, was kind of a reflection of where I felt like my journey, I guess, was, at the time that the music, or kind of like this band kind of originated from in 2013, actually. I felt a little confused with my direction. I think that, the title maybe stemmed from just feeling like lost with where kind of my path forward was. And I think I was trying to find purpose at the moment. I think that when I initially created it, I think I liked it on the front end. I mean, this is the part I didn't tell you last time.
What is it?
What I would do is you kind of, I wanted to put two words together, and I would Google search at the time and be like, is there another band that's named that? So eventually I was like, Empty Trail. I'm like, that I kind of like that. It's kind of cool. It's like dark rock. And like I said, the purpose driven of kind of feeling lost in the moment. And then looking it up, I'm like, well, there's no other bands that are named that. So I'm just going to take that.
Yeah,
and
take it.
I went forward with it. So, and I've seen like over years, things pop up. I've seen like some songs that have been called Empty Trail, like many, many years after I started. But I think, hopefully the only Empty Trail out there. So
yeah, unique. Last thing you want is to create a big band and then all of a sudden you realize someone else has the same name.
Yeah, I mean, that would be definitely like a copyright kind of trademark issue, and that kind of gets into the music business of it. But yeah, happy to honored to have the name, and never been in any situations where I feel like I've had to fight for it. So
yeah, that's good. Like when you created the band, how did you manage to get the members together? Because I'm curious.
Yeah, so the band started in 2013 out in Los Angeles. I put together, wrote and released a 3-song EP at the time called Obscured, which is somewhere out there, I think in Bandcamp. It's not even really on the mass streaming platforms. And I had a session drummer at the time that I just paid to kind of, hey, like I want you to kind of play something like this, at the time, and it turned out good. When I moved out to Austin, Texas, I released actually another EP and then a full-length album, which I ended up finding musicians in Austin, Texas, a drummer specifically, just to play on the record of what I kind of wanted, what I heard in my head, what I wanted. And then eventually that drummer turned into one when I decided I wanted to kind of go full live. Hey, would you kind of be part of the live band? And he's like, sure. I thought he was a great drummer, amazing drummer. His name's Ramgov, by the way.
Shout out to Ramgov.
Shout out to Ramgov for sure. And then I went on Facebook for a bass player, because Empty Trail's a 3-piece band. I was always debating if I wanted to have another guitar player, but I just kind of much preferred to just keep it a 3-piece. I thought it was a little more unique, playing guitar and being the singer instead of having another guitar player. But anyways, I went in Facebook and I messaged a bunch of people, kind of spammed a bunch of people in a way, just, hey, the band's called Empty Trail, here's a song, do you guys know a bass player, are you a bass player? And I ended up reaching out to, his name is Shane Wallen. And
shout out to Shane Wallen.
Yeah, shout out to him too. He's in North Carolina currently. But, he wrote his own music, he had his own band, he sung too, and he wasn't really a bass player. And initially he just kind of rejected it. He's like, no, I'm all right. And then I guess he went back and listened to music, and he came back. He's like, I actually really like this. I'll definitely play bass for you. So I think it's kind of a cool part of the story. The music sold it. But yeah, that's kind of like how the members started. And then after that, went through COVID times and stuff, and there were some fallouts of other members, and ended up kind of enlisting other people. And at this point, like, Empty Trail's kind of become more of like a Musical chairs. I know some more diehard fans of Empty Trail, I guess, blissfully are attached to the kind of normal three piece, which was
Yeah,
made Rick Lambert,
yeah, the
based
original.
on Jane Wallen, the original, the OG, and then Ram Gov on drums. But with more context of just the music industry and how things work behind the scenes, it was just very hard to keep everyone together. Um, all good relationships at this point. But I ended up kind of having a musical chairs and had to find kind of other bass players and drummers to play for certain shows. And some people stayed in the ring a bit longer. And like I said last time, which I didn't say, is I'm actually back in Wisconsin now. So most of Empty Trail's fans don't know that.
Okay.
So Empty Trail is technically not even based in Austin, Texas at this point. Technically, I guess, based in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So haven't played out live quite yet. Released some more music. One which you have as a GMV, which I'm super excited for, pumped for other people to hear it.
Oh yeah, it's already scheduled after this interview.
Hell yeah, I love it. But yeah, I haven't played live yet here in Wisconsin. Do plan to do it, so I'm gonna have to find a bass player and a drummer that align with the band and are the right fit, and kind of do that. But anyways, there was a long ramble through your question.
No, that was very necessary. I think that was very important that you mentioned that. So you mentioned that you played live shows, but not in Wisconsin. You've done that in LA and then in Texas. What was the process of doing live shows like?
Well, when I was in Los Angeles, I was only there for 3 years. I played in and out of a couple different bands at that point. We didn't play live with them. I didn't play live with Empty Trail.
Okay.
But I was kind of in a couple cool stuff, and it was definitely fun to play around Los Angeles. It's a bit oversaturated, just saying it's difficult to, when you're starting out, to get your foot in the door. As far as even getting gigs, it can be very hard, challenging in cities like Los Angeles. In Austin, Texas, as far as playing shows, I mean, it was good. I mean, it started out initially as just kind of playing divey bar situations, and then it kind of led into bigger venues, and then it led into being kind of like an opening act for real household rock and roll names, which have been awesome. Led to some touring. Funny, Empty Trail was supposed to go to Europe and tour. We never ended up actually doing that, which is funny. With the Empty Trail.
What year was that going to be?
Say what?
What year was it that you were going to go to Europe?
2019 was probably like the biggest stuff with Empty Trail, because and I can give you the backstory of that now or later. Or,
yeah, I mean, since we're talking about it, I think yeah, go ahead.
I think that Empty Trail's trajectory was interesting because I released all of these albums and EPs kind of in the front end solely by myself, and then when Shane and Ram became involved, it became more I guess just solidified, more serious, and we ended up kind of getting connected with certain individuals that were really helpful, and it kind of snowballed into meeting more and more people that at the time for me was just kind of like magical. It was like there were people that were getting involved with Empty Trail that are just connected to household names that I grew up listening to, and it was like, oh my god, this is crazy. And it just shifted the experience. It kind of went from like, hey, kind of playing some smaller shows, into now we're kind of getting thrown into the bin of like major players, like major bands, and it was a definite skyrocket in regards to that. And there was a lot of kind of hopeful things, and we ended up getting signed. The band was pitched around a lot and got signed, and could be marketed, and that's also when I think that probably the most interaction that Empty Trail had on social media on Instagram specifically was kind of in tandem with all that. So
yeah, in the year 2019 was it?
Yeah, 2019, and we got some, and that's when we were getting offers. Our manager was just kind of pitching the band to everyone, and getting some opportunities, to open for a lot of household names. She could tell you more specifics on that, and then opportunity to potentially go to Europe on a tour with another band. And I think that Unfortunately, it didn't happen. I'll say with this is because um, these things all cost money in a way. So like, for
Yeah.
bands, especially when you're kind of, and honestly for much bigger bands, I mean, it's like a real thing. That's why tickets are so damn expensive. Um, I mean, I wanted to go see System of a Down, and Avenged Sevenfold, I think, here in Wisconsin, and I was just like blown away at like the ticket price. But I get it, I understand it. It's they're kind of fighting, all the fees that kind of get associated with
Yeah.
it.
And
And then,
there's like people that's scalping the ticket price, so they
yeah,
buy it in bulks and then resell it at a higher price.
yeah, it's tricky. It's like the business model of it. So I think which is interesting is now it's like 100% this, but I felt like the transition of starting up the trail was kind of like, I guess I look at the past when artists could like solely just be an artist, and then have like all like the business people that just kind of like, hey, you should kind of go in this direction and do this, and you can just be kind of like the zany artist, But we're in a situation where you got to run your own business in a way. So, with that being said, Europe didn't make sense because we just weren't going to get like the right guarantees, and I'll say band members couldn't get paid what they needed to be paid in
Yeah.
certain ways just to live. So it was kind of like, nah, this doesn't really make sense. Um, you know, but for example, 2019 was a really cool year. There was a lot of really, really awesome things. Empty Show went to New York City. We kind of did like a press run over iHeartRadio and a bunch of different things. And there were a lot of cool things that were potentially going to happen. But then I think eventually we hit with, COVID, and that kind of came around and kind of, stopped a little momentum at the time. But yeah, 2019 is kind of when like most of like the bulk of like the touring stuff was potentially going to happen. And we also did have a tour right before COVID that we were going to do that never ended up happening, actually. But,
Yeah, that's unfortunate. A lot of things were shut down during that time, so that's I
totally.
understand. Would you say that's like the most challenging thing you faced as a musician, or were there like any other things that were more difficult than this
Like,
as an artist? No, like when you planned to do the tour in Europe,
oh,
but that never happened.
no, I mean, I think that, you know, just being an artist is just, it's an ongoing thing, of course. And you can, which I've seen, you can kind of, be sprung into you getting a lot of people to know about you and have a lot of opportunities. And there's just as fast as that was created, you can kind of fall into obscurity in a way. It's about a constant, we all know this, kind of constantly, staying in like an intention zone of people being like, hey, remember Empty Trail, we're still here, things are still going on. And I think that just kind of, we all do that with like TikTok culture and stuff. And now it's actually, which is interesting, not to get too far off of it, it's kind of where my mind goes, I guess, is just that, with TikTok and stuff and social media, everybody can kind of have a platform, right? We all can have a platform. And the cool thing about that is that everyone is a platform. The things that it can kind of introduce is that since everyone is a platform, it's hard to consistently stay in a realm of like, getting attention when there's just a lot out there all the time. So I think that probably is the hardest thing, I would say personally, that I've dealt with ever being a musician, is I think that as an artist, you just desperately, at least I do, want to focus on just creating art, putting it out there, playing shows, and not having to like even really, which sometimes I've enjoyed it, like even having to play like a content game, having like someone else can just like manage and market everything, and you can just be like an artist and just create art. I think is something that I've personally struggled with, I think, the most. But depends. I mean, I think you could also say that creating content that's a form of art, right? So depending on, I guess it's like a second form of art from like music, and then creating art to showcase the art.
Oh yeah, like almost like a behind the scenes of how you made your
Yeah,
songs.
yeah, totally. And this is getting on once again. You got me like on tangents, I guess. You're stirring me up emotionally. I love it.
No, this is good. I like that you're telling this as a musician, because I think a lot of music artists who's watching this will definitely learn from another artist such as yourself whenever you tell these thoughts and experiences you've done.
I appreciate that. I love it. Everybody, views it differently. And I guess I came up in a time where I felt like social media was a thing, but I think it's interesting for people that have just been born into it, and they've really known when it's not known when it's never existed. So I think that being adaptable is just the best thing that you can do in anything that you do, especially if it's art. And yeah, I mean, I think it's been kind of the thing that I've always managed is creating a brand. This is a big thing that lately I've been dealing with is creating a brand that is true and is authentic to what I want to put out, but finding a way to balance that with having to create things that you need to maybe get some visibility, until maybe you're one of the lucky artists where you kind of call the shots in a way, and you don't need to kind of succumb to that in the same way, maybe. But I've always loved the image of being kind of like mystique behind it, creating art, creating this kind of like obscure, subdued, like, oh, they're kind of cool behind the scenes. But I find that it's like, we live in a culture that people want to know, like, you. So I've fought the battle of creating that obscurity, and then just being like super authentic, like, hey, here's my taco I'm eating today, or whatever.
Oh yeah, like a day in the life.
Yeah,
almost like a vlog, short vlogs, because you see that a lot with TikTok.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, it dethrones the sense of when artists used to be able to hide behind the, like, behind the glass.
Oh, that's true.
Couldn't touch them, and now it's like everyone kind of knows everything about everybody, but I also pride myself and love, the authenticity of it, and I think that I don't ever want to like ruin the mystique, and this is the thing, like finding the balance, but being like, hey, I'm just a real dude, just happened to Empty Trail's my thing and gotten some popularity in some like pockets, which are cool, but just another human being out here kind of doing my thing, and that's kind of essentially what we kind of all are doing,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's good that you're connecting with your audience and showing the real side of you, because I know that before the social media, a lot of these music artists, they're known for their songs, but you don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. And for any fans that look into the artist, they can only read up articles about them, and that's pretty much it. Maybe some form of interviews, but when it comes to daily living, music artists nowadays, they could just put on their camera on their phone and then vlog right away, and that creates even more connection for their fans.
I love it. Yeah, no, I think ultimately it's a good thing. I think it's for sure.
Many artists tend to create songs with deep meaning behind them. Is there any one song in particular that you made that you really like?
Yeah, I mean, I think that every single song that I've created lyrically is very important to me. Once again, just speaking for myself, and I'm not trying to exclude like the fact that like I would assume that most people operate from this way, but every single song that I create is like a true expression from my psyche, and that's been like the core of what I honestly get out of creating art and music. And there's been moments where I felt that I've had to kind of do things maybe that seemed more like this is like the smart thing to do, but kind of conflict with like, but this isn't really me in the way that I want to express it. So I'm just saying it's very important. So with like all the lyrics and stuff and songs, they are all very important to me, and they all have deep meanings in the sense that I think that a lot of songs that I've written, people have been like, oh, you're talking about a relationship. And I don't want to take that away from how people interpret stuff, because also the beauty of music is that people relate to it the way they relate to it.
Yeah,
sometimes
I like that.
Like sometimes you actually hear what somebody intended from the lyrics, and you're like, oh, I didn't get that at all. I thought you were talking about this. And sometimes it can kind of change it. And I think that how anyone interprets a song is the right way to interpret it, I believe. But for me, I've had a lot of people sometimes say, like, I thought this was about like a romantic relationship. And like Lost is probably, has cool music video to it. I think that, definitely one of the more popular Empty Trail songs. And I know a lot of people have thought it was about love in the sense of like romance. and like, you know, betrayed by somebody. But honestly, that song was not from my, and it could be taken that way, but it wasn't written from that. It was written from more of like a love or capacity for connection to life in general, like trying to understand. I guess that's kind of always been my mindset. Maybe just kind of peeling back the onion layers deeper and deeper and deeper until I'm like, you know, what is the purpose of it all, in a sense. And I think that a lot of my lyrics have been more of like a deep feeling that I'm trying to understand, you know, within myself, through maybe more of the superficialities of how the world operates, or, you know, what it means to be human, I guess. But yeah, they all have. So Lost for me was about kind of, you know, once again, like losing my path, feeling betrayed by life, feeling like how I thought life was supposed to be wasn't getting reciprocated to me. It was like, oh, maybe, you know, life is just this cruel dog eat dog place, which we can all say, and I can say, I'm getting a total tangent, that we can see is conceptually like, yeah, that's real. Like we can see that, you know, the strong survive in a sense. But I think that for me, it was just about a deeper essence of trying to find something more, I guess. Maybe it was like a spiritual thing, and I'm not to make it religious, I'm not religious, but still yearning for the sense of spirituality, or the sense of deeper purpose other than maybe the day-to-day, like, you know, things. So that really to me is what Lost was, and it stems from this yearning of trying to connect the dots there.
Yeah.
Which I don't expect anybody to hear lyrics and like understand. It's like very nuanced and very specific to me. But I also think it's fun to explain that. That's generally where that song resonated for me.
Yeah, so that's good, because I think it's important that everyone has some form of purpose, or they have to seek some form of deep meaning in themselves, because you mentioned that it goes beyond the day-to-day thing. Like, I know people who work at a job and they don't feel a sense of purpose in what they do, but when you become like a musician, there's something about that makes you feel like you have a purpose, even when you're working a hard or difficult job. Doing that can help you get through difficult times, I would say. At least that is for me. Like, even when I was in school, like, times would drag in school, and I didn't, some people didn't entirely enjoy going to school and waking up to the hours. But when you have a purpose, a greater purpose outside of school or work, such as making music, content creation, or a business, then it can really help you get through difficult times in your life. And I was just adding to what you mentioned earlier. So
yeah, I mean, I think it's I don't know, as human beings, we're all like purpose driven. We try to find meaning, and I think that that's kind of where it stems from that. And for a lot of us, you know, we talked about this like kind of last time, you know, there are survival-esque things of living life that, you know, are really paramount to just making it through, you know, but if those were all, you know, in place and you had just everything you needed, I think that eventually it would be like, there has to be like a purpose or a meaning. And I think that I see that when I think of like individuals that seemingly like just have it all, you know, and, you know, are super, super successful. And I'm like, why are you not happy still? Like, why are you still not happy? And I think it really is that essence, you know. So I don't know. That's kind of like where my mind goes with that. But the lyrics for Empty Trail and stuff all come from deeper emotions, and, you know, all my experiences that, you know, generally maybe, you know, I think that music, the initiative to create music is stemmed from hardship, because I think that's why you're called to want to create art. At least I feel like in the case with Empty Trail, it's like I felt like because of these bad things, creating music, actually send it back together, created some weird sense of like, this somehow is purposeful. Somehow me putting my emotions into this and putting it out into the world, even though I can't see how it's really going to affect other people, somehow it just feels like there's purpose in that. You know, even if it could resonate with one person, somebody can be like, that song is me. Like, I like that, and that gave me enough to get through the day today. I think that there's just like a sense of like meaning in that, whether I was consciously aware of, or I've become conscious now, was kind of like a desire. So yeah, like all the lyrics and everything I've created with At the Trail, very deep, very near, dear to me. And
Yeah,
but I could psychoanalyze every single song if you wanted to. But
yeah, I can imagine. It's good. It's good that a lot of people resonate with that, and it can also help them feel good about themselves when they listen to your songs. And as an artist, it can also make you feel good about yourself, knowing that you've helped others. So I wanted to get into the topic of LA. So some up-and-coming artists may want to move to LA for a better career. And since you've been there yourself, got any advice for any musicians looking to go to such major city?
I think if you feel like you need to go there, do it. I think that you can't fight that. I think that something that I've learned, being 33 years old now and stuff, and kind of looking back, is you can look at like decisions you made when you were 20 years old and go, oh, I should have not done that. But I realized I needed to make the decision. I needed to do it. It didn't matter how many people told me this is the wrong or right decision. And to be honest, this is my secret. No one really has the answers. No one really knows. Who am I to say that you're not going to go to Los Angeles and become the next biggest thing in the world? You may. Low probability, I'm just saying it, but you may. And people have. I think that, if you feel like you need to do that and that feels like the next step, just follow that. Follow it and do it. I can only tell you my experience. I think that statistically, if I looked at it, it's hard. It's hard I'll say, first of all, it's really damn hard to be an artist without consistent income coming in. Because when you're put into a situation where you're kind of in survival mode, you can't really be free-flowing to let art pour out of you the right way. I think when it's coming out of the sense of scarcity and the sense of like panic and anxiety, like I need to create art, I need to create content because like I need to, and I've experienced that personally. Obviously, I'm saying that. I think that you need to have some sort of security to be in the right mindset that you can be your best version of yourself, whatever you do as an artist.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that, so I think that if you can go out to Los Angeles and you feel like you have a safety net in one way, once again, I'm not deciding you shouldn't go. If you feel like you have to go and you're just like, fuck it, I'm going to figure it out when I go out there, go for it. Trust yourself, of course. But I think that you should realize that it is very competitive. It's very, sink or swim. It's very, like, I can't remember, very intensely competitive. And there are, unfortunately, some individuals that maybe have certain situations that you can't see from the outside that maybe allow them to wink, wink, stay afloat easier than if you literally just like, I need money to survive out here. And that really, truthfully, a lot of artists that I've seen, or I won't like directly call people, but you need some form of income, I think, to stay there. And if you have like a really good job, cool, but it's difficult. It's very competitive. And if that feels right to you, go give it a shot. Maybe, and this leads me back to the other thing, maybe just doing it will lead you to the next best step. Maybe you need to do it because it's going to open up the path next for you, wherever it is. And that's what happened to me. And then I moved to Austin, Texas, and, enjoyed out there. And now I'm back in Wisconsin, which is actually where I was born. I decided to kind of move back home, and, this is kind of where I'm at. But I think that you got to follow, your life's journey. Follow wherever you feel like you're being called to, and only you know that. So, but
yeah, a lot of successful entrepreneurs say traveling is one of the best decisions you can make, because it will open your eyes to the opportunities around the world. And I think that's pretty much what you did when you went to LA. I mentioned this in the previous interview, that you were almost like a student in LA. You learned things there, and then you brought the knowledge into Texas. So you became a teacher, and you formed your band, and it's an incredible journey for Empty Trail.
I appreciate that. Well said. Yeah, I mean, I it's true. I mean, you just kind of learn. I think that you keep like I think sorry, I'm getting like a deeper tangent, but it's resonating with me right now.
Yeah.
The sense of, everyone wants to like know the magic bullet in everything. We all want to know like what's like the answer and do it. But like the truth is there really is no answer. You just kind of keep incrementally pushing forward in the next best, like I think this is like the next step forward, and as long as you keep going, I guess I feel that eventually things unfold in a way that you didn't really imagine. You kind of look back, and because I've always tried to do this where I'm like, I want to get there, and I've tried to like re-engineer or reverse engineer like the steps to get there. But you realize when you do that in your own life, I'm like, I would have never known that all of this shit was going to happen to get where I am. I just lived life and I just kept going and ended up here. I could never be like, here's what you got to do to become successful. Every situation is different. Every situation is different. And, it's a combination of just trusting it, working hard. Obviously working hard is just, you just got to do that. It's part of it. Believe in yourself, which I think is a big damn thing. I think that people who just almost at a level of like delusional belief. They're just like, I'm amazed. Like in a way, like you just need that in anything. When you're going to create something that has not been there before and to literally be you against the world, you need to just believe that you can kind of climb that mountain, even though like realistically, like it probably doesn't make sense at the time, and I've seen other artists say that have success that I look at like, oh my God. But I do believe that. I think that, as long as you just kind of keep trusting, believe in yourself, keep moving forward, and then just be smart about it, obviously. But
Yeah.
Well, anyways, now I'm a motivational speaker too as well. Like,
It's good. It's good. I like that as an artist. You can speak and motivate people even outside of your music. So I'm just curious now that we mentioned that. What's the cost of living like in LA? Like, what would you say is a comfortable income to live in a city during the time you were there? So 2013.
I mean, at the time when I was there, I mean, if you can like, you're gonna probably be living with like a lot of different other people, so like a lot of other roommates. I mean, I guess it depends like how you want to live.
Oh yeah.
And I think that that would also, I think relates to like if you're going to create art and stuff, if you're able to, yes, survive, but survive in a way that's just, diet's really really not ideal, and yeah, like you got to do that to some degree, and living with a bunch of other roommates that are just causing insane craziness 24/7, and you kind of, it's hard to create a space that you can really kind of create what you needed to do. I mean, 1,200, 1,300 maybe. I guess it would depend. I mean, I think now probably is major risen. I mean, comfortably probably like 2,500 maybe, $2,000, 2,500 in Los Angeles like area. I don't know. I guess it all depends. I don't really know specifically to be like now, but I would imagine like if you want to be like in where the action is, I mean, it's really expensive. And generally the people that I feel like probably are there kind of have like legs up in regards to kind of being able to manage that. But there's certain places like around like the area that you probably could find. You just have to kind of commute into it, which you could always do.
Yeah. It's insane the amount, the cost of living there. Because I know in London it's also very expensive. When people work in London, one of the best ways to save a lot of money is definitely to live with roommates, like what you just mentioned, and also to live outside of the city, and you just have to commute. So the cost of living outside of the city is a lot cheaper than definitely in a city center. So I can imagine that's the same with LA.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you got to weigh it. I mean, sometimes it's smart, like depending on like, what gas would be then or whatever, like how to commute. Like you want to be like in the act. If you're going to be there, you want to be like in the action of it, for sure. I guess whatever kind of works, but I'm sure you can find like unique situations, and maybe you can meet people at the right time. They're going to give you like a really good price because they don't need the money, and they kind of help you, like kind of crash on the couch per se. I guess it just kind of depends, really. But I just think that you need to looking back, you need to be like in a conducive situation where you feel like you're not just so sink or swim, that you can have a pocket area for your art to really thrive in. Otherwise, you're just it's hard. It's hard. How can you like create art when you're in like a panic state 20%?
Yeah, it's definitely essential to have a job or income coming in while you build up your career, your music career, or content creation. Because I think, for example, a 9 to 5 job is one of the best wealth building tool that you can have to build your business or music career, because that will help you fund your operations. And without that, you're going to be in a panic state, and it's not going to be a comfortable place for you to create.
Yeah, I mean, I agreed. Yeah, any way that you can, find income, any way. I mean, be unique. Any way you can do it, whether it's 9 to 5 or it's just doing Uber and something else or whatever, you can make it work. Cool, But yeah, I think that's definitely a thing. I think I haven't been back to LA in a while. I think last time I was like in 22, or I don't know, was that COVID? I forget which. It was like COVID year, or I forget which year it was. I was back at NAMM. You know what NAMM is?
NAMM? No, what is it?
It's like a musical convention thing where companies get together and showcase products. It's like a giant trade show for musicians, and it's fun. It's cool. It's in Anaheim, California.
So, I see. That's cool, because it reminds me of Comic Con.
Yeah, it's Music Comic Con for sure.
Oh.
I could say it like that. And it's a cool place, and it's probably last time I've been kind of in the area, and so I don't really know what it's like right now, and obviously horrible with the fires right now. I have a couple of people.
Oh yeah, prayers goes out to all those who's been affected by the LA wildfires. I've heard. Yeah, it's like the news is massive here.
It's insane. It's just crazy. I guess I don't know enough like how it even gets started and stuff. It's just crazy. But
yeah, I've heard like an article where because I saw like this one house that's been standing there with not being burnt down, but this is from another occasion. But basically what happened was the owner had water sprinklers turned on around her house, and after the wildfire, that her house remained standing. Out of everyone in the neighborhood, it was all burnt down, but her house was still standing, all because she turned on her water sparklers.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if that can help, but maybe if something like that occurs, it could really help someone.
Yeah. That's crazy. It's good for her that worked. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a horrible situation, and but yeah, I mean, that's kind of last time I was in Los Angeles. So once again, long-winded answer.
Yeah,
but
that's great.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get into the subject of Bitcoin, because this is something that I'm also passionate about. You got into Bitcoin. What pushed you into holding onto this asset?
Yeah, so background again. So my day job situation is I'm a financial advisor. Although compliantly, hopefully I do this correctly, nothing I say is a recommendation. So at all discretion of me just talking about it. But yeah, I mean, I've been in the space of kind of investing and obviously understanding all of that and kind of best risk tolerance in regards to that. And Bitcoin is definitely something that's, key player as of late. And obviously it's risen intensely. Yeah, I mean, I think it's personally like one of the great assets to have. I don't think like all money should be like in Bitcoin specifically. I think that, with financial planning and stuff in regards to that, I mean, it's all about diversifying things. So in the case of, me looking at it for myself, that's definitely an area that, having some money, I think is good. I think Bitcoin is really volatile. So I think investing is like I said last time, I mean, the way that I view investing in general is once again that, what did I call it?
Volatile.
No, not volatile. Like the meme thing where it shows success, where
it's like a roller coaster.
But success doesn't look like a straight line. It just goes up, and then it goes like way down. You're like, what's going on? And then it goes up, and then it goes a little more up than it did last time. And if you look at it over a long period of time, you're like, well, I started here and ended here. So investing is kind of similar. So it's all about trying to kind of, put money into pockets, that are obviously over a long time horizon are going to raise. But no one has a crystal ball. Like no one knows for certain this is going to raise by this much. It's all just speculative, although there are some areas that are less risky just based on looking at trends. I think that Bitcoin, is definitely going to change and definitely isn't the way that it used to be viewed. And it's a very volatile asset in the sense that, it's just risen by incredible amounts. And obviously you had, like, for the people that just are like, hey, this new Bitcoin thing, I'm going to put like 10 grand in it or something ridiculous. Like they're like millionaires, of course. But like most people, it's so counterintuitive because you would never be like, I don't know what this thing is. I'm just going to sink a lot of money into it with the risk that because most speculative stuff you'll just lose your money, right? So it's all kind of a risk versus reward. So I think in regards to Bitcoin, it's volatile, as all stocks and bonds and situations with regards to that can be volatile. But I think that I don't really know what's going to happen in the future. I was kind of proven wrong because I thought that it was going to go up and then just come back down. Because after watching Bitcoin for the past, year, when it was like 50, 60, and it was like up to like 70, and then it came back down to 50. And then, after Donald Trump and stuff, it went up to like almost $100,000, and it's kind of stayed there. I mean, I guess I was proven wrong. I didn't think it was going to stay where it was.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, once again, none of this is a recommendation. None of this is a recommendation anybody listen to it. It cannot be a recommendation. But in the sense of just how I view it, it's just, it's just risk versus reward, and it's sometimes you're going to win and sometimes you're going to lose. And I think it's just not putting you would never want to put, I would never want to put all my money into Bitcoin because we don't know what's going to happen. You could put all your money in and be like, haha, suckers, look how much money I made. Yeah, that could happen. But like, you also don't know if you could lose all your money. And it's a possibility. So I think that being safe of investing money into many different pockets, because nobody 100% knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I remember what we said last time, and I'd love to hear you again. Well, Bitcoin can kind of diversify against, more common money sources in the stance of.
Yeah, I'll talk about that after you.
Yeah.
So basically, I agree with what you said about, like, if you don't know what you're putting your money into, then the safest option is to diversify your portfolio and not go all in on one asset because you haven't done enough research on it, or you just don't understand it enough. And by diversifying, not going all in on one asset, it's the safest route. Now, I'll tell you a little bit more about Bitcoin for all those who don't know what Bitcoin is and what it means to hold Bitcoin. As I mentioned this in our previous interview, we first have to understand the problem in our world and our current system. The reason I'm focused a lot in Bitcoin nowadays is because today's generation has seen the most uncertain future prior to past generations. Now, I learned this from Gen Z BTC, but basically in the 1920s, it only took one person to work to be able to provide for the entire family household. And it's the same thing for the 50s, 60s, and then 1970s. That's when things changed. That's when Nixon took the US dollar from the gold standard, where the currency was no longer fixed to the value of gold. So that no longer exists. We started to see a small amount of inflation in the economy. It hasn't impacted people yet, because the inflation rate wasn't so severe. You could still comfortably buy a house then. But now in our modern times, as we witnessed a lot of financial crashes, the dot-com bubble, the lockdown, and then the housing market crash, there's a lot of money that's being printed in the economy based on those crashes. Living in 2025, it's just become a lot more difficult for Gen Zs, millennials, and then Gen Alphas. They're finding out that it wasn't as easy as our parents made it out to be. So some people have gotten to the age where they've done everything by the book. They went to school, got into debt to get a degree, worked a job, bought a house, raised a family, and now it feels like those steps isn't worth it anymore because everything has just gone up so much in prices. There's even instances where governments want to extend pensions before you could retire, like there's a pension crisis. So it seems to me that the entire system is made out to keep you poor, while the 1% keeps getting richer. Like the middle class and the working class has to suffer as the wealth gap between the rich and poor keeps widening. And for that, I think it's important that Gen Zs and millennials must look into a system that works in their favor, and that is where Bitcoin exists.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think just because something that resonated with me, what you said, I think that, yeah, there is a tendency, unfortunately, where with power dynamics and when, fortunately, the people that have the most power, i.e. the people who have the most money, in a sense, tend to kind of regulate and create scenarios and situations that tend to, which I feel like I've kind of thought, like, maybe consciously, maybe sometimes like very subconsciously, create systems that just kind of benefit them. And that's why it's just so hard when it gets toppled over, where, you know, a few people are just kind of calling all the shots and kind of creating a system that just really, you know, feeds them back, you know. And then when you're on the outskirts of it, it's very, 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 very difficult to fight against that, you know, strong wave. And I think that, you know, finding ways to kind of stand up or find a way around it, I think is important. I think it obviously instills hope. I think Bitcoin, you know, could be something good to do that, to kind of diversify away from the way that we've always done things. I think that probably is almost in a sense of like rebellion, to kind of be like, hey, I'm going to create like a, you know, our own investment situation here.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's exactly what Bitcoin is. So, you know, Bitcoin is digital currency, and it has a fixed supply of 21 million, and it's completely decentralized, meaning it isn't owned by one entity, so no governments or corporations can control it. And since Bitcoin is digital currency, it allows a peer-to-peer transaction of money from one person to another without a third party saying, nope, I don't like you, or no, that person is a bad person, I'm not letting you give you that money to that person. And
I love it. I agree. It's funny because I remember what we talked about last time, and I just kind of got reminded of it because it just naturally led the same way. You're right. I think decentralizing it, I think it's good to kind of take away that power dynamic and, you know, kind of take back the power in certain ways, definitely. But then also, you know, I think of the infrastructure of everything, like with artificial intelligence. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, we could talk about that as well.
And yeah, I mean, I just think that I'm kind of like an AI nut as far as following all the artificial intelligence things. I'm just really, really passionate about it. And I just think personally, it's going to just change everything so drastically. Like things that we're not even imagining could change. I really do believe that it's going to change drastically. And I think that what I was thinking you were saying that is just a form of currency, or how we even buy and sell things. I think that if I personally follow the thought pattern far enough and where artificial intelligence, I think it has capabilities to go, it really begs the questions of, how do people make money now if things are being done by artificial intelligence? And then if there's not money, how do people buy things, and how does a business generate income if no one's buying things from the business? And then, I think that things are going to change drastically. I don't know how specifically, other than some popular kind of things that are said in regards to this, as far as like UBI, universal basic income type of stuff like that. But I think that the system of how we've done things for a long time, personally, I think is starting to kind of be a little weighted in like, okay, maybe this structure used to work back then, but now it's starting to create like major significant problems, unless you're like in the rich situation and you were like born into that, like starting to create like really significant problems, that are very hard to manage. And I think that it's like a rubber band. It can only be stretched so far until it snaps. And, using Bitcoin, for example, to do that. But then I also think with artificial intelligence, it's going to push things even further into a realm of like, the whole system's kind of got to like be reparadigmed. And,
yeah, totally.
So
so the old system is, I would say, it's outdated. It benefited a lot of people before the internet, but now that the internet exists, we have information at the touch of our fingertips. It opened up many opportunities, or opened up a lot of doors, and some of these have shown like challenges to the traditional financial systems, and so Bitcoin is one of them, and then AI is becoming one of them also. So I think being able to adapt them is going to be beneficial for our future, and completely ignoring them, well, we're just going to have to hope that we live long enough to not be consumed by the new system.
Totally agree.
So wanted to ask, what do you think? What do you use AI for as a musician? Since we're talking about it now.
What I've actually used artificial intelligence for is for bios. There's a couple bios of Empty Trail that I'll be honest, just kind of lazy. I don't like writing bios. I hate talking about the band in a way that's like, so I just, you can tell it all the information, and it can just obviously search the web, on your thing and create like a great bio. And you're like, nah, I don't like it. That sounds a little too pompous. Can you change it here? And then it'll just redo it. So I used for bios. I don't really use it for anything artistic because I feel like that takes away from my part in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like I want to, like I said, I want to express myself through the art, and I think the imperfections in it, are part of that. I think that, that's another separate conversation, but artificial intelligence could potentially just, I do think it will get to the point where artificial intelligence would know my inner workings well enough, like know me as a person, know when I create music what I'm looking for, how I ask questions to myself to discern like this riff or this riff, or like this drum beat or this drum beat, or like, and be able to discern that, and probably could just like click a button eventually and be like, create an Empty Trail song, and it would just be, wow, that's amazing. I couldn't have written that myself.
Yeah.
And it would just be perfect, and you wouldn't even know the difference. But we're not there quite yet. And, I much enjoy creating the own art of Empty Trail at this point.
Yeah.
So,
it's good because I've seen a lot of a rise of AI music on YouTube, and the problem I find with these AI songs is that they often feel soulless. It's not the same as when you're actually listening to a song created by the artist themselves, and because they're being created at a mass amount of numbers, they often come close to one another. They sound the same, and as a result, it doesn't feel unique. Nothing unique about AI music. That's how I feel like whenever I listen to these AI songs.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Like what we talked about this last time again. Like when you can just change popular songs and do it in the singing voice of another popular artist. And I remember that was going around for a lot, like on TikTok and stuff. And that was definitely cool. Remember, I'll shout out another buddy of mine, a band called Blackheart Saints, for April Fools. They weren't on Joe Rogan. They wished they were on Joe Rogan. That would be awesome. Joe Rogan, that'd be
Oh,
awesome.
I think I know where this is going.
But yeah, they did April Fools, and it was like a Joe Rogan thing, and it was like a conversation between them, And this is when that was like brand new, and now you can probably tell the differences, although maybe the technology's gotten way better since then. But it was pretty funny, obviously, because it's like Joe Rogan experience.
Did you get tricked?
I didn't get tricked because I'm just like, I'm like, wow, you guys really went 0 to hero overnight. And then I'm like, oh wow, look, it's April 1st. That's very odd. But I appreciate the ingenious of it. I think it's funny. It's cool.
Yeah, it's funny.
But yeah, I mean, AI can be used in many different ways, and I do think that eventually it'll be able to do things that maybe we wouldn't all want to agree that it should be able to do. But we're not quite there yet. But I think that ultimately, and I think goes back to this. I think especially with social media and stuff for me, this is why authenticity is just very important to me, because I think there is just so much out there that I think the one thing that to really truly stand out is technically, at least yet, nobody can be you unless one day AI can 100% be you, and then that we might be shit out of luck. But up until then, nobody can be you. Nobody can create the art that you create. Nobody's gone through the vast specific experiences that you did, and specifically the way that you did. Even if you clone yourself, that person would turn out a bit differently. And I think sharing that story is special, is unique. And I think it's like how you really, when we're talking about portfolios here, so you diversify yourself against other people, is just being true to yourself, being you, as corny as that sounds, whatever that looks like, being you and putting yourself out there. And I think that eventually, hopefully, people will resonate with who you are, and people who don't get you, maybe will just, scurry off away, and that's fine. But yeah, I think that even with artificial intelligence could do things really quickly, I think that that's why now it's more important than anything, I think, to be true to like who you are and not necessarily try to like compete with everything else, or like be like, oh, I feel like I got to do that because they're doing that, or but really stay centered into just what makes you from every angle. I think it's how you really kind of shine.
Yeah, I think it's important to put that human touch into whatever you use AI for. So you mentioned you use it for bio descriptions. It saves you time from having to rewrite it yourself. I find the same for me whenever I'm doing my descriptions. And I also use it for mostly calculations and research, because sometimes Google doesn't give you the exact answers you're looking for, but then when you ask ChatGPT, you get exactly what you're looking for.
I love it. I think it's just groundbreaking, like to be able to feed it all this context and then have it answer based on all that context. Because the thing that's frustrating, like with Google and stuff, when you're like searching for answers and stuff and you just can't really find exactly what you want, or it's like not really applicable to your situation the way that you're looking for, or there's maybe some questions that you want to ask to make sure that you understand it. And I just think AI makes it so simple to do that. You can just feed it all the context, like, hey, I'm a musician in Wisconsin, Empty Churl is my band, look it up, try to like find all the information, I'm trying to blah blah blah, yada yada, give all this thing, and it can in that instance create like a perfect bio from the exact perspective that I would want to write it, that I'm just like lazy to write it because I write in bios. But yeah, it's groundbreaking, and as they say in the AI world, it's the worst that it's ever going to be right now, which is cool and scary, because if it just keeps going up and up and up, it will have pretty influential, significant applications, I think. But yeah.
Well, Rick, I think it's been 1 hour now. I'll wrap it up here. So, do you have any songs or upcoming track that you're going to be releasing in the future?
I don't have anything that I'm specifically releasing. I think that, in my counter to that is there's so much great empty trail music. And I think that, our fans should just keep enjoying that right now, especially for people that have not heard about it. Go into the discography, as we used to call it, when they used to be discs. And you can catch that. And then basically, As Hope Wanes is the new song. Happy to be showcasing that on your channel.
Yeah.
Your awesome your video that you made. And I'm honored, and I genuinely appreciate that, because you can definitely use empty trail music whenever you want, whenever you feel inspired to create something. It's so awesome to have the opportunity for you to expose, people who have gravitated towards the art that you created, to my art. I think that's absolutely amazing. I really appreciate that. So for new people that are hearing this, obviously watch the new video. Hopefully you dig As Hope Wanes, and we have much more music that you can dig into that's out there, like awesome music videos, awesome songs that have bared my soul. That right now I don't have like new music specific that I can say that I'm creating, although that could change at any moment.
But you're gonna start making music right now after this.
Yeah, I know you might have just inspired me. I'll be like, oh wait, no, I got a new song coming. And I think that if nothing more, I think that what I'm after is I just want to connect with people in like a deeper way. I think that the music is like a vessel for that, and I hope that Empty Trail's music can just find more people that truly resonate with it, because not everybody's going to resonate with everything, but who truly are like, damn, this is like exactly how I feel, this is crazy, and I love the music, of course. That's what I'd love. I just want the right people to find the music that are meant to find it, I guess.
Yeah. So for all content creators out there who's interested in editing or using Empty Trail's songs, it's all for you to use.
Love it. True.
Yeah, Rick, I think you've been great. I absolutely love your story and everything you've discussed, from your journey as a musician to your opinions of finance and then AI. And I think we've had a really good conversation here. It's full of golden knowledge.
Agreed. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Where could we find you? Any social media?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, if anyone uses Facebook, literally anywhere. You guys know where
MySpace.
It is. Well, no, MySpace. You can maybe find my old MySpace profile under Rick Lambert somewhere, but I think they took all like the photos and stuff off, so it would be very hard to find. I probably couldn't even find it. So good luck at doing that. But yeah, anywhere, literally anywhere, just Empty Trail, the keyword, you can find music anywhere that music is available at this point. Just, if you want to, or you're inspired to, dig in. I would love to have you.
Okay, Rick. I wish you the very best in everything you do. We'll end it here.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Still recording, by the way.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know, guys, that I was supposed to nod off. So
it'd be like hilarious if I say, "Oh no, I accidentally forgot to record again."
Oh yeah, that's that actually probably should be like the marketing promo for it. Is that the cycle has to break? It's a state that haunts me, always taunts me. Oh,